What's up, guys? Another edition of car maintenance coming to you. Today we're going to be changing out the U-joint on the front drive shaft for a 2005 Dodge Dakota. Some of the things you're going to need: obviously a new U-joint, a jack, a couple jack stands. You're going to need a torque wrench. You're going to need a wheel block. Obviously with the parking brake down, and you're going to need a socket set. I'll try to get this thing open real quick, and preferably a working surface, so that you can work on this U-joint. So we're going to get started, and I will come back to you guys after we're all set and ready to take this thing out. So, oh, and you're also going to need a hammer, so don't forget that. All right, guys, so once you've loosened all four of these bolts that hold your joint into your front drive shaft or drive axle, whatever. This is your front drive shaft right here for your four-wheel drive. Once you've loosened those up, make sure you take a Sharpie, like I've got, maybe like a really off-colored Sharpie, not like silver, but I got like this like blue, and just to be honest, I don't know the technicalities why people do this, but it's always advised that you mark where this is, and then you need to go also back here to where your drive shaft comes out of your transfer case, and mark also where this is on kind of the area. It's really hard to see the area. Woo, right up there, the area where this is. So you basically just draw a line across, and then whenever you put everything back up, you just make sure all your lines line up so that everything is back in its original position. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to set up a little viewing station for you guys so you can watch if you want to. The ones in the back here are 8mm, and those are specifically these little ones right here. Those are 8mm. So 8mm, and then you got 15mm up here. Take these off. For this job, I do recommend a 6-inch extension, which makes life easier, but you probably don't necessarily need it. And swivels. Swivels are always nice. All right, guys. So upon further inspection of what we got going on here, as we saw, so just using basic common sense, right? So our U-joint, clearly it does not have any trouble moving in kind of, you know, its range, right? It feels good. It feels like it's you know, is working the way it's supposed to, right? But we come over here and we feel this, and it's struggling to move around. You can feel the resistance inside. It's kind of making noises. So you're obviously, this is your problem part right here, whatever this is. So we're gonna figure out what this is, and then we're gonna replace it. I guess so. Obviously, you know, good to have another one of these around. Luckily, Rock Auto, they're only like $7. So we're just gonna throw it in the toolbox, and I'll be right back with the conclusion, with the second half of this video on how we're gonna fix the actual issue with the proper parts and tools. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of our video. We are working on replacing what is this is apparently a CV joint for a propeller shaft. So this is the end that's bad, because we inspected our U-joint, and the U-joint seems to be working perfectly fine. But when you spin this or try to move it, rotate it around, it's really rickety, and it's just clearly a bad part. So this is how you replace this end. Some people, if they find out this end is bad, they're going to be like, oh, I got to buy a whole new propeller shaft. No, you don't. You can replace this end by itself. There are some factors, though, if you do take this end off and discover that these splines on your drive shaft are messed up, or they're bent, or, I mean, just deformed, I guess would be the word, then you would need a new whole propeller shaft. But we are hoping that that is not the case, because that's going to be everybody's hope who takes off one of these. So some essential tools you'll need to finish this job. You're going to need some snap ring pliers. You can get these on Rock Auto, the same website that I got the rebuild. There's a rebuild kit for this. Comes with the bearing that's on the inside, this front boot portion. I kind of bent it down. This front boot portion, and then there's this cap that goes on the back. So it all kind of goes together, and this goes in the middle here. So it all just kind of comes together on this assembly. So there's 3 parts, obviously. Let's see. All right. And then the this part, this piece, the kit's gonna, when you get this rebuild kit, and I'll link it in the description, it's gonna come with this thing. And what this thing is it seals into the back. This is the cap that goes on the back, and this just goes, you line it up with the holes right there, like that. And then whenever you put it on, you're good to go. It'll seal it into the back of that, keep moisture and stuff out. But first, so we got to go about getting this back piece off. So ideally you're going to want a clamp or something, but some of us don't have that that luxury. If you guys don't have a vice grip or anything, then you just gotta improvise, just like this. be honest, I have no idea how the fuck this thing is like not just sliding off. But there we go. Hey, victory. So you guys can see how much rust is in there. I mean, it's like caked in. It's so bad. So this is obviously not good anymore. It's bad. It's pretty bone dry in there, as you guys can tell. It's very bad. So what you guys are going to see is this little snap ring goes around this circular portion. That is basically what's holding on this entire system onto your drive shaft. That is why you have to get, this is a required tool for this job, is snap ring pliers. So what you do is you stick these two little ends into its two little ends and you take it off. Now don't worry about losing this piece. If you do happen to lose it whenever you take it off, that's not uncommon. But whenever you go to put on, make sure one thing, just make sure that this kit comes with a snap ring so that we can determine whether or not it's a okay thing to lose it or not. Okay, yep, see, we have a snap ring. Most of your kits are going to come with a snap ring. So, wouldn't be much of a replacement kit if it didn't replace every part in the apparatus. So, just put it in there. And if it survives, then it survives. And that whole thing just comes out. And don't dump it on yourself like I just did. That whole thing comes off. So now we're going to spray some PB Blaster and inspect these this area. Woo! So you know my PB Blaster's about had it. Woo! Sprayed my foot. And you can tell that it's really had it, because you see this part was on there like that. There's that rubber still on there. It ripped totally off of this end part. This is supposed to be separate. So basically what you're going to do here is take some needle nose pliers or some kind of pliers, and you're just gonna, there's this metal thing right here, and if you can, to be honest, they crimped that down to make sure that it, we'll just do it this way. So you grab, try to grab the end of this metal ring. Might have to wiggle it up a little bit, and then you want to try to pull it over. But if you can't, because your kit comes with a new one, then feel free to just totally destroy it, like I'm about to do, because it's irritating me. There you go. Now your metal ring is off. Obviously, if your kit doesn't come with a replacement, don't just destroy this metal ring, because you're going to need it to go back. You will need to be extra careful instead of what I did. Do not rip it off. All right, now this is the part where you're going to inspect your splines for any kind of damage. And thank the Lord in heaven, it looks like my splines are okay. It's not going to be the case with everyone, all right? So not everybody's splines are going to be okay. I know it sounds bad. It's a cruel world out there, guys, but also don't forget to take the rubber thing off after you remove the thingy, the other thing. Should be pretty easy. There we go. Spray that as well. You want to clean up this whole thing because it's been exposed to rust and bad stuff. So might be a little bit. Other required items, you're going to need some Channellock pliers, and I'm going to get to that in a minute as to why, even though it did not require any channel locks to take off the components or pull them out of the truck. Putting back together things is where that's going to come into play. You guys, I got some dishwashing gloves. Really just any like solid gloves for this, because you're going to be dealing with grease, because you're going to have to push. This kit comes with grease for CV joint. You're gonna have to push grease into these bearings. Now if your splines are messed up on your drive shaft, you're just gonna have to get a new one. I recommend going to a junkyard, taking off the front drive shaft or whatever drive shaft you're looking for, removing the side right here, removing this side, taking these components off and checking it beforehand. So, because junkyard, you're not going to pay like $300 like you will online. Online, you're going to pay $300 for a replacement propeller shaft. So you just want to clean this up really good. Make sure everything's kosher. It doesn't have to be like super clean, but the cleaner you get it, the better job you do now, the less likely you're gonna have to do this down the road. So down the road again. My impression of these joints is that they're not super reliable. Mine does have some wear in the front right there, where it doesn't usually. I think it's workable as long as I put it back together properly. All right, so some WD-40 is going to help with this, because let's see, actually I should probably put on the kitchen gloves. Now we're going to start applying this grease and getting these parts ready for being put back on. We have greased up our bearing. We've greased up some of these pieces that are going to be attaching onto that this bearing, and we are just cleaning off this mating surface. where some of these things are going to come in contact with each other. And we want this area to be very clean so you get a good tight seal. That's good as is. I could probably sit like that. Just gotta remember which side goes on, which just need to identify in your mind whenever you take it off. Find something that helps you remember which side goes on first. It can really only go on one way, but don't force it. That was one thing, that was one message that I received from watching videos, was just don't, whatever you do, just don't force this part to go on one specific way or another. If it doesn't fit down, then it probably doesn't fit down for a reason. Oh shit. Clean off this surface a little bit. Okay, and make sure this is a good seal. And then this little part right here is going to go on. You line up the holes with that. Don't really know if that's the right way. Probably would help to know. Let's see. Forgive me blundering. Jesus. Oh Lord. Get some of this grease out of the way. Okay. So in order to get this to be a nice, tight, and proper fit, do something a bit unconventional. This is going to be the side that goes on. So I'm pretty sure this is the side that came off. No, it's going to go on like that. Okay. That's why you check. Otherwise, you'll never know. Clear out some of these. I don't really know how to get some of these holes clear, but you guys got to improvise and figure it out. And hopefully we didn't lose it. All right. This is hopefully the proper way you put on the. There's like a wrong way, there's a right way, and there's a wrong way. And that's the wrong way. And that's the right way. And then put on this snap ring very carefully, because this is the one you don't want to lose. go. And you just want to kind of see if you can just move it around, make sure it's all nice and greased up the way it's supposed to be. Because you don't want this to come loose. This coming loose would be a very bad thing. So it's better to make sure that it's seated properly now than trying to figure it out later. Damn it. There we go. Now she's... See, you want to be able to move it around a little bit without putting too much pressure pushing out, and just be able to kind of spin it in place a little bit so that you know it's seated in that groove the way it's supposed to be. So now you want to check these. Make sure this is where it's supposed to be. You don't want to snap this in place until you're absolutely sure. See, hey, now she's moving around. That's exactly what you guys want. Now, I was doing that. Probably would be a good idea with these gloves, but I was trying to avoid using these gloves with grease, but it's a great opportunity to kind of get that all in there. Get all that grease in there. Just pack it in as much as you can get in there. Okay, because now it's going to move around like it's supposed to. But it does need to come off of the stinking thing for a minute. I don't even know how it got. How did this thing even get on there like that? Just trying to lightly tap it off. There we go. And you want to get those holes lined up where they're supposed to be. This is where your channel locks come in. This is going to help you press that surface on. So I know I haven't been doing too much narration. All right, so to sum it all up, as far as tasks that need to be completed, you're just greasing up everything like I did, and then you're putting this first piece on with the rubber boot. You put your bearing on the correct way, and then you put your end cap on as well. And you want to make sure all these things are lining up as you're doing this, and that you're also going to press these pieces together onto the bearing. It's going to be pretty tight, but in the end you should get a nice snug fit. You should have that seal on the back end. You should be able to see a little bit of that, but it should all line up the holes properly as well. And just get that back end seal on there real good, just the way it's supposed to be. Make sure that when you're done that your joint rotates really nicely, just like that. It doesn't pop and crackle around like the old one used to. Here you've got your new clamp. This probably would have been a good idea to put this on beforehand, but oh well, shit happens. This is gonna be difficult to get on now. I wish I had an extra zip tie. Damn it. Could have just zip tied this shit. Because these things are always a huge pain in the ass. I think you're really supposed to like measure them out and then like fucking cut them or something. I can tell you right now, I'm not gonna need maybe like so feel free to do what I'm doing if you feel it's best. I think it's going to make it easier to get this damn thing on. It's already a pain in the ass to get on as it is, especially when you put the cart before the horse like I did. Snaps on there good, and then this part is for cinching it down. So once you guys get this metal clip on there, there's this middle portion. It's hard to see. This middle part right here on this ring, where you just clamp that in, and it tightens up that metal ring around the rubber seal. If you can get the pliers in there to tighten the damn thing up. There you go. Now it's all squeezed together, nice and tight. So there's not going to be any kind of nastiness that gets in there. Give it a good tight ass squeeze for good measure, and we're good to go. That seal's not gonna break loose anytime soon. All these bolts fit in really good. Okay. Let's see. Seem to have hopefully not lost track of too many of my pieces here. Make sure all these bolts and stuff fit back in the way they're supposed to. And clean off these ends. And that, guys, is how you change your CV joint on your Dodge Dakota. I think some Jeeps have it. Some other Dodge, Chrysler products have this kind of design that goes into the transfer case. This is a CV joint repair on a propeller shaft. Pretty basic premise. The repair kit you can get from rockauto.com. I'll link that in the description below. And then as far as putting it back in, I can film that. Although it's, you know, the same process as taking it out, as you guys saw. But so as far as putting the propeller shaft back in, if you guys need help with that, you can just rewind to the first part of my video where I take this propeller shaft out. These little bolts right here, I believe these, it's like 22.5 foot-pounds of pressure. And then the bolts for the U-joint are 80 pounds of pressure. So crank those down as tight as you can. If you're working from the underside of the vehicle, because it's going to be pretty hard for you to get 80 pounds of pressure down on those things whenever you're underneath the vehicle working. But these, make sure not to over tighten this side, because there's not a whole lot of pressure on those. So, but yeah, guys, so thanks for watching. As you can see, this was definitely our problem child. This whole kit's $40. If you guys don't have any snap ring pliers, these are, I think these were like $12. All in all is a little bit over 50, including shipping and tax, so it's not too bad. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more wonderful videos.